Jennings. Hola amigos y amigas de Jennings Lodge. Today I have a story for you about the seasons. This story is called Wonders of the Seasons, and it's written by Keith Brandt and illustrated by James Watling. Now, in kindergarten, we're studying about the seasons, and right now, if you go outside, there's so much to see that's happening that all has to do with the spring. This book is going to talk about all 4 of the seasons. So look very closely to see if there's anything you recognize about what's happening right now. Wonders of the seasons. Snow is on the ground. Tree branches are bare. Days are short. Nights are long. It is winter. Soon the days grow longer. Tiny green buds appear on tree branches. Yellow daffodils and red tulips burst into bloom. New shoots of grass change gardens from dull winter brown to bright green. It's spring. Do you notice any of these changes happening where you live? Insects buzz and hum from leaf to flower. High in a tree, there's a bird's nest hidden by green leaves. In the nest are baby birds. The days are long, sunny, and hot. It is summer. Leaves turn red, orange, yellow, and brown. The bird's nest is empty now. Dry leaves crunch beneath your feet. The days are growing short and cool. For the farmers, it is time to harvest crops. It is autumn. Winter, spring, summer, autumn, sometimes known as fall. These are the 4 seasons of the year. In most countries, winter and summers are very different. Winter is very cold and summer is very hot. Why do we have seasons? Much of the reason has to do with the movement of the earth around the sun. And I think all of you have seen this. The earth travels around the sun in a circle called an orbit. This orbit takes 365 days. The earth takes 1 year to make 1 full orbit of the sun. As the earth makes its journey around the sun, it does something else. It spins. The earth is very much like a giant top that never stops spinning. Each full spin of the earth takes 24 hours. For some of those hours, part of the earth faces the sun. Those are hours of light that we call day, right? When we can see the sun, we know it's daytime. The rest of the time, that same part of the earth faces away from the sun. Those hours of darkness are called night. If the earth did not spin, half of it would have day all the time, and the other half would have night all the time. Nothing can live where it is always night. Almost all plants and animals need light and warmth to live. The earth leans or tilts as it spins and travels around the sun. We have seasons because the earth spins and leans. The part of the earth leaning toward the sun has summer, and the part leaning away from the sun has winter. Imagine the earth a very large ball. At the top of the ball is the North Pole. It is not a real pole. It's just a name for the one spot on Earth that is north of every other place. The North Pole is cold and icy region where no plants grow. The polar bears, seals, and the birds that live near the North Pole must search very hard to find food because there are no plants. At the widest part of the Earth, in the center between the poles, is the equator. This imaginary line divides the Earth in two equal parts. Everything between the North Pole and the equator is the Northern Hemisphere. We live in the Northern Hemisphere. Some places near the equator are very hot, very wet, because it rains every day. These places are called jungles. Other places near the equator are very dry because it seldom rains there. Many of the world's deserts are found in these dry places, but wet or dry, it is always hot near the equator. This is where it's a jungle, and this is where it's a hot, dry place near the equator, usually known as a desert. At the bottom of the Earth, in the South Pole, it is exactly on the other side of the Earth from the North Pole. Here, too, it is very cold and icy. Penguins and a very few other birds live near the South Pole. But most people, plants, and animals do not live near the poles or on the equator. Instead, they live in the other parts of the world, where it is not too cold all the time and not too hot all the time. The way the Earth leans as it spins and travels around the sun affects the seasons in the northern and southern halves of the Earth. When the North Pole points towards the sun, the South Pole points away from the sun. That is why when it is summer in the Northern Hemisphere, it is winter in the Southern Hemisphere. Each year, around June 21st, the North Pole leans farthest toward the sun. This is the longest day of the year in the northern part of the world, and it is the first day of summer. Around September 22nd, there are exactly 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night all around the world. This is the first day of autumn. After this day, the North Pole will lean away from the sun a little bit more every day, and the season will change again. Now the days grow shorter in the northern part of the world. Autumn is the season when farmers in the northern hemisphere harvest their crops. But it is spring in the southern half of the earth. There, farmers are planting seeds in their fields. Every year around December 21st, the North Pole leans farthest away from the sun. This is the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. Winter begins on this day. In the winter, the sun is low in the northern sky. The days seem very short, but each day grows a little bit longer as the winter passes. Does it seem like the days are just getting a little longer every day as we get closer and closer towards summer? The first day of spring arrives on March 21st. On this day, there are 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night, just as there were on September 22nd, 6 months ago. After this day in March, the North Pole again begins to lean toward the sun. The days grow longer and longer in the spring, and the weather grows warmer. Plants begin to turn green. Birds fly back from their warm winter homes. The white winter fur of the rabbits turns to brown. Deer and moose begin to grow new antlers. Spring is a reason of great change. Spring is the season of great change. But how did the birds know when it is spring, the time to fly north? How do chipmunks know it is time to come out from their burrows in the ground? How do they know these things? How do plants know it is time to sprout? Animals and plants use the sun as a calendar. When it is winter, plants sense the days are short. Less heat and light reach the earth. As spring draws near, nature's early risers wake up. The crocus and snowdrop bloom early. These flowers do not need many hours of sunlight to make them grow. Tulips and roses will not bloom until there are more hours of daylight. Every kind of plant has its own daylight calendar. The magnolia tree long before the apple tree. Some kinds of grasses turn green early in the spring. Other kinds do not turn green until June. Animals follow the same sort of daylight calendar. Robins will return to your garden when there are about 12 hours of daylight. The longer spring days tell insects to hatch from their winter shell. Summer is a warm and wonderful time for life everywhere. All through the year, nature's creatures pay attention to the daylight calendar. As days grow shorter in August, summer is ending. Trees are getting to drop their leaves. Squirrels begin to store nuts in the ground to eat during cold winter months. Summer ends and the school year starts. Autumn brings football, crisp apples, leaves to rake, and pumpkins to carve. All the seasons have wonderful things to do and celebrate. Winter will follow with snow to shovel and icy ponds to skate upon. But even on the coldest days, spring is drawing closer, and so the seasons come and go. Nature has made sure that each season brings us an exciting and different world. The end. Thanks for listening, friends. Go ahead and go outside and notice all the changes that are happening right now as we're all enjoying spring. Bye, friends. Take care.